All right. I think we're going to get started here. I want to make sure we have enough time to address everything. There was a lot of questions that came through. So everyone, thank you again for joining us for the I Must Ask You a Question webinar hosted by Be Found Online. As you can see, our paid media team and myself have gone ahead and made sure that we have our mustaches ready to go. Some real, some fake. I will let you decide which is which. Okay. Oops. So, as I mentioned, we're Be Found Online, and I wanted to introduce our people, the folks that are presenting to you today. My name is Kyle Geib. I'm the marketing director. We have Curtis Gulash, Scott Diebel, Kelly Payne, and Kyron Field joining us today, all part of our paid media team, our paid media experts. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to our paid media director, Curtis Gulash.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Curtis Gulash, just like the food, but spelled the correct way, as my family likes to say. I've been at BFO, I think it'll be 9 years, maybe today. I think it's actually 9 years today. That said, little bit about our team. So most of our employees right around 8 years experience. We don't tend to hire folks coming right out of college. We want to make sure people have experience working in accounts and they're not just book smart, but they have that real world experience. We've been a company for 13 years now. Our two founders met at a conference. One of them did SEO, the other did paid search. So it just made sense for the two of them after hitting it off to start working together. Got about 24 people on our team right now. We are a values-based company, so we want to work with people who do good in the world. We don't want to work with jerks. We want to make sure that we're uplifting each other, helping each other out, and really collaborating together. We've won some awards over the years. Here's a few of them. And that said, we'll move on. All right, so the agenda. Like our friend Nick Offerman says here, we want to maintain the attitude of a student. We always want to be learning. We always want to be teaching. So we're going to discuss some ads. We're going to discuss some keywords. We're going to talk KPIs and competition. Going to break apart social media, talk about the various platforms there. Going to talk AI. It's the big thing on a lot of people's minds right now. What's it doing? How do we do it? So we're going to address that. We're going to have a slight break for fun here. We're going to talk SEO and analytics, and then we're going to talk to you about why you should come work with BFO, as well as arm you with some testing opportunities for your own accounts. All right, goals. We want to arm you for success. This can get a little rough at times. We know it. We're in it every day. So like our man Apollo Creed says here, you got to have the eye of the tiger. We're going to share based on what we've tested and what we've proven. And for you, you're going to get some paid media ideas that you can take back to your accounts and optimize accordingly.
And with that, I think it's time to jump in. So we're bringing our first expert to the stage. We are bringing Kelly Payne to the stage to talk ads. And a little context for the agenda and how we have this set up. We took all of the questions that you guys had sent to us, and we kind of batched them into some of these overarching themes to try to keep it organized and structured for you guys to follow along. You ready, Kelly?
I'm ready.
All right, your first question. What should our creative look like? This pertains to search, display, and video.
Well, if you're running search ads in Google, you know that the main ad type is responsive search ads, where you can have up to 15 headlines and 4 descriptions. From experience, we do think it's best to max out the assets as much as you can. We've seen that if you have 10 and over headlines, it definitely performs better as opposed to having like 3 to 5. I also like to pin the brand name in first position. I have seen good performance from that. One thing that we notice is that you do want to have at least one ad with either good or excellent strength. So keep testing the assets to see what performs best. If you have enough data, it will show you the strength on all of your different assets. So what I like to do is gather the stronger ones and put them into one ad to have the best ad that we can. From research, if you improve an ad from poor to excellent, you can drive around 12% more conversions on average. Another thing, and we will get into this a little bit more on this slide as well as another one, is utilize AI, ChatGPT to be specific. I've used it for ads. I can't tell you the number of times I've been writing ads, like the same thing over and over again, just switched up a little bit. But when I used AI, it gave me some more ideas that I couldn't think of myself, but are still in line with the company's or the client's goals and their products. Next is display ads, and display ads can come in several different shapes and sizes. Well, I'm not going to bore you with listing out all the specs. I will say that it is very, very necessary to have assets in all of these different sizes. Just gives your ads a better chance of serving impressions and limiting ad fatigue. So keep it simple. We tend to stay away from banners that have too much going on. So focus on high quality images and readability, meaning not too much text on the banners. Studies have shown that if there is too much going on in the ad, too much text, users tend to ignore it compared to a more visually appealing logo, nice image, and maybe a couple of words, a call to action on there definitely grabs the user's attention a little bit more. And then the next type of display ad is responsive display ads. So similar to responsive search ads, you put in several different headlines and descriptions as well as images. You can have up to 20 images. So what I like to do is use about 6 or 7 and then crop them to fit the requirements. And then Google will determine which type of ad performs best. And then video, again, from experience, I've seen that shorter videos tend to perform better. Maybe ads or videos that you can't skip. I know from what I do, and I go on YouTube, I just wait to press the skip over button. So if it's shorter, they're more likely to actually watch the video. Also be sure to integrate brand logos and strong call to actions, and then definitely make sure to tail your video ads to each platform that you're using. So if you're using Meta, House, TikTok, YouTube, Google, just make sure that you have the correct formats. You want to keep that consistency across all the different platforms.
Awesome. That is a lot to take in, Kelly. One of the things I'm
is.
taking away from this is when you're running campaigns like this, it feels like you need somebody that's pretty organized to keep this all straight as you test with assets and copy.
Definitely. Always a lot going on.
Awesome. All right. You ready for your second question?
I'm ready.
Coming off the heels of that, how much creative do we need?
Well, if possible, use as much creative as allowed. For example, back to the RSAs, you can have 3 per ad group. So definitely max it out if you can. It just gives better chance for performance, optimizing the ads, showing which works best. And then if there isn't really a limit to the number of ads, say Facebook, I think the limit per ad set is like 50, but I tend to start with 3 to 5 per ad group. Even talking with the Meta reps, they mentioned 5 per ad group is a good place to start. And one thing to keep in mind is I always find it useful to get several ads pre-approved from the client to have some in my back pocket. So when ads grow stale, instead of going back and having to get approval on another set of ads, which could take, over a week, I already have those approved, so they are ready to go there. It's definitely a good trick to have just because you don't have to keep going back and forth and updating ads. So they're already ready to go.
Awesome. So ensuring that you have some like back pocket assets and copy to bring into the mix when things need to be switched up.
Very useful.
Awesome. Anything else on this one, or you want to jump into the next one?
On the next one.
Let's do it. What makes great ad copy, Kelly?
Well, I'm sure you know that there's no one size fits all. There's several different things that you can do to make your ads stand out to maximize performance. Excuse me. Use a strong call to action. This grabs the user's attention. Well, whether it's a promo or a highlight, I find these types of headlines and descriptions tend to have strong performance, especially if you can pin it in a headline. Also include top keywords in your copy to show that the users are finding what they're looking for. Use the most relevant landing pages per ad group, and then use dynamic features such as keyword insertion or the countdown feature, since this helps customize the ads in real time.
Fantastic. So we've got the creative, we've got the copy recommendations. Another question we received, can I use any page on my site as a landing page?
Well, while you can use just about any page on your site, it's not recommended. It's best practice to send users to a landing page that is most specific to what they're searching for, just for a better overall user experience and a higher quality score. Just as an example, if a user is searching for, say, a California King mattress, you would want them to send them to the Cali King mattress page rather than a general mattress page, which shows, twin and full mattresses, because likely they're not in the market for one of those type of mattresses. So definitely keep it specific for what the user is searching for.
So all of these pieces play in together contextually, right? The copy, the creative, and where you're directing people from a journey perspective all needs to make sense along the way.
Yep.
Cool. I've got one more question for you. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
All right. What about AI generated copy? I know you touched on this, but you want to dive in a little deeper?
Yeah, I did mention it. That is on the slide again, and we do have another slide about it, but I'll just touch on it really shortly here. AI is a great tool to use in writing ad copy. I've had, again, so many experiences where I've run out of things to say that are different from past variations of our ads. So using Chat GPT, to be specific, helps me come up with different messaging, but is still in line with what's on the website. Then also keep in mind that Google is already incorporating AI into some technology, so certain ad types and betas. If you give it a prompt, it will generate headlines and descriptions. So while it sounds new, it has been around and is continuing to launch in the actual platform. But
Very
we'll
cool.
talk
Super
about a little bit more later too.
awesome. Kelly, I'm going to relieve you for a couple slides and let you get back to just enjoying this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Of course, we're moving on, and I'm bringing Kyron up to the stage. How you doing, Kyron?
I'm doing all right, Kyle. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How's that mustache feeling?
It's sticky.
I almost said same, and that would be very strange.
That would be
All
very
right,
strange.
moving on. We're not talking keywords.
Yeah.
My mustache pales in comparison to Hulk Hogan's, of course. First question for you, Kyron. Actually, before we do, would you introduce yourself? Say how long you've been at BFO and what your role is. Kelly will do that for you when you come back. I apologize.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Karen Field. I've been at BFO for, I believe, just over 3 years now, and I'm a paid media account manager.
Awesome. Kelly, I haven't forgotten about you. We'll get to you the next time you're around. All right, Kyron, first question. Why should I bid on my brand terms?
So there are a variety of reasons you should bid on your own brand terms. We actually have a blog that goes super in depth on this that actually our very own Curtis Gulash wrote, who's here on the call. But I'll go over a couple of them and, high level, and, give you some information on the ones I think that are pretty important and maybe some that get overlooked. So first thing, you want to be able to control your search results page or your search page results. There we go. With an organic listing, search engines grab either the H1 or the title tag, as well as the meta description set to that landing page. And then that is dependent on what the search query is, right? So we don't have a whole lot of control over those things. Now with paid, we can control the messaging to deliver a clear, curated, and target specific ad copy, while also driving traffic to a very specific landing page. So this could drive awareness to a special promotion, a sale, deals, or any other special messaging that your business may be wanting to push. Next one, defending your brand, right? It's very important that you defend your brand against your competitors. In most instances, your company will always outrank your competitor on your own branded terms, just due to basic relevancy. So when you opt into paid search for branded keywords, you're able to defend against that. If a competitor is bidding on your branded terms and you're not, they're going to show before your organic listing. But if you're also bidding on your own branded keywords, there's a good chance that you'll show above a competitor's in paid and then also below them in your organic listing. The final one is one that a lot of people overlook, but that's boosting your Google account level quality score. So as marketers, we all pay attention to keyword quality score and ad relevancy, but this is something that's often overlooked. Google assesses your account quality score based on how relevant the goods and services you provide are to what the user's searching. So since branded keywords are going to be incredibly relevant to your business and the service and products you serve, this is an easy and effective way to boost your account's quality score with Google and get a leg up over the competition at auction.
That's great, Kyron. So the three big takeaways I hear from that are controlling your message, protecting your brand space online and on the SERPs, and then final piece is paying the Google tax a little bit and playing the game.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Moving on. This is, I believe, your last question for this slide. So
Yep.
Our Google rep told us to use broad match. You said not to use broad match. Why?
So broad match definitely has its pros and cons. It's less of use it or don't and more of when to use it and making sure you're being smart about when you're using it. So Google defines broad match as a keyword match type that allows your ad to show on search queries that are related to the meaning of your keyword, which can include searches that don't exactly contain your keyword terms. So broad match is great for bidding on, longer tail keyword or Q terms, in which the search query might not exactly, align with what your keyword is targeting. So for example, if we're bidding on keywords like running shoes with arch support, but a user searches for shoes with support for running, our ads would still show with broad match. When you don't want to use broad match is for what we consider fathead keywords. So these are going to be keywords like white shoes, right? If we're bidding on this in a broad match sense, we could go to auction for users searching for white running shoes or users searching for white dress shoes for an event. The latter would be a waste of time if your business, mainly focuses on selling athletic based shoes. So it's important to understand kind of when to use broad match and when not to use broad match in your account. And it kind of depends on, how much you know your audience, what kind of terms you're searching for. But there are definitely pros and cons to both, but it's definitely not recommended that we start there. We definitely want to kind of hone in on those more longer tail keywords and then get closer and closer to our broad match.
This is super helpful, Karen. I know we get a lot of questions about broad match and people need clarity on that. So thank you so much for that. And we'll be moving on. So Kyron, you're relieved for the moment, and we're bringing Curtis back to the stage. Curtis, we're talking KPIs and competitors.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Question 1. What are the top paid media metrics to track to assess performance?
So you're going to start with impressions. How many times did your ad, did your creative, did your video serve? From there, you want to look at clicks or engagement. So clicks are literally they click on your ad. Engagement is going to be things like watching the video or engaging with your content, but not clicking on it. Those could be likes or comments or shares on Facebook, Meta, Instagram, so on and so forth. From there, you want to look at how people are engaging with your content. So your engagement rate. Some people call it a click-through rate, but if we're not talking about clicks, it's going to be the engagement rate. From there, the big thing we're always chasing, conversions. So how are people ultimately making it to your site? Are they downloading the white paper? Are they signing up for the webinar? Are they buying the thing? So we want to talk conversions as well as the conversion rate. So the rate of which people make it to the site and actually fulfill the conversion. And then the two biggest ones, CPA, so your cost per acquisition, your cost per lead, and then return on ad spend. And here's the thing we always say is CPA doesn't matter if your ROI is bad. So you really do, while you can measure and bid on and build off of CPA, you really want to get towards that return on ad spend. So is that acquisition going from $7 to $3? Is it actually worthwhile? Or are we seeing a better return on ad spend when we stay at $7?
Cool. What I'm hearing in there too, Curtis, is that really the metrics that you're looking for are being dictated by the strategy and your goals. So having that in line and using that to dictate where you're placing your emphasis on your reporting and your metrics. Am I hearing that right?
Absolutely, yes. So I mean, you might not focus on how many times you get a video impression. Instead, your focus is get the engagement off of it, get people coming to the site. On the other hand, you might just be focused on blasting people with your video, your pre-roll, whatever the case is, not so much caring about the engage or the clicks to the site because you're building a retargeting audience off of that video. So again, like you said, Kyle, it depends on the strategy and what your intended outcome is.
Cool. Thank you for that clarification. Our next question, how can we find out what our competitors are doing?
So the shortest version is to call them up and ask them, but they're not going to tell you. So from there, you're going to want to use the tools that you have available. So there's two great aggregators. One is called SEMrush, the other is SimilarWeb. They allow you to look at organic and paid competition based on their proprietary tools. It's not 100% accurate. I always have to caveat it with that, but it does give you a good jumping off point, as well as things like a keyword gap analysis, where you can figure out where competitors are and where you're not. In addition, in your Google account, you have Auction Insights. Spoiler, Amazon and Walmart for e-com tend to be on everyone's. Not a big deal. They bid on a lot of terms. They sell everything. So you might want to look at the ones below that to find out who's more realistically a competitor of yours. You can go into Meta. They have what's called the Meta ad library. You can literally Google it, go to the link. From there, you can look at your competitors based on who you want to look at. So if you're a local pizza place, you can look at Hungry Howie's, Papa John's, things like that. With that said, keep in mind that you might see the brand as well as franchisees or multi-location there. So that for local advertisers really gives you a better perspective of like how Uncle Joe's Pizza next door is doing compared to Domino's, who's covering the entire US. And then lastly, and I want to give Kelly credit for this one, go to ChatGPT. The key here is using the word compare. So the example I did the other day, just to play around with it, compare Nike's paid search strategy to Adidas and Reebok. What that gave me was information on Nike focusing more on athletes and releases, Adidas being more of a lifestyle brand, and then Reebok being kind of somewhere in the middle. Like Kelly mentioned earlier, that's the AI that we're using. So try ChatGPT, make sure you use the word compare. Otherwise, you're going to get some, well, I can only look back so far, Dave. That was a Space
Awesome.
Odyssey reference if anyone's old enough to remember.
So a lot of entry points to start
Yeah.
competitor research, which is great. I think now more than ever, especially with, some of the AI tools that we have at our disposal to really start to do some of the initial research. All right. Believe this is the final question on this slide, Curtis. What should our ROAS or CPA be?
You have to look at your historic data. You have to look at your benchmarks to determine this. That's where everything starts. What's attainable? You might want a $9 ROAS goal, but if you've only ever been at 5, you're going to have to trim some fat and figure out how you can get there. And then you're going to have to find out, is that scalable? Also, it's good to figure out what's attainable and then set your stretch goal, really something you want to go after. With that, you're going to want to set your bids accordingly. So do you have a CPA or a CPL goal? Do you have a ROAS goal? Are you more focused on lead gen or e-com? Use those things, use your benchmarks to determine how you're going to bid. And we mentioned this in the last question, think about ROAS too. So if it's CPA or CPL, you need to determine the quality of your leads from the different sources. Meta might be better than YouTube, vice versa. Figure out the average close rate of that lead, the average value of the lead, and then you will have your estimated ROAS. For one of our clients, they do sell online, but they also do lead generation. So Scott has figured out what's the average close rate, what's the average contract value of that. So for those lead gen campaigns, we can give the client an estimated ROAS versus just saying, well, we reduce CPA by 25%. Like I said, if it's not a good lead, it's not a good lead. But this way the client can look and see, okay, from that campaign, we're estimating X amount of revenue.
Awesome. Thank you for this. So in thinking about this, it almost goes back to strategy, right? When you're thinking about your KPIs and your metrics, it's identifying the strategy, benchmarking some KPIs, setting goals based off of that. And then all of these things, which I know is why you started, Curtis, with it depends. All of these things lead you in a path of confidence towards successful campaigns.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Are you ready to talk social?
Let's do it.
All right. Talking social ads here. Number one, straight up, will social ads grow in 2024?
The data says yes. So I often look at Statista. They're a great aggregator. They look at reports. They look at spend across the globe. They have seen social or paid social ads increasing spend from 87 billion in 2020 to 207 billion in 2023. They've also done some forecasting. 2024 is looking at around 219 billion, and then 2025 is looking at 230 billion. So it's growing. It's going to continue to grow. Despite cookies going away, despite all that stuff, we still use social media to reach users and to generate leads and revenue for our companies.
Awesome. So it's growing. Next up, and I think I know the answer to this based off of your response, is Meta still relevant, Curtis?
1000%. They've had some hiccups over the years. They are really doing all that they can to keep us in platform, to keep us using them to drive ads. One of their newest additions is called Audience Plus targeting. So with audiences going away, with iOS 14 stripping people out, it allows you, or Audience Plus allows you to reach users based on their in-platform engagement. So are they liking things? Are they commenting on things? Are they watching videos? It really allows you to get in and cast a net towards an audience that may not know you exist, but is also not part of the existing audiences, that Meta still has available. So try that one out. pair it against your existing campaigns or your existing audience targets and see how it does, because we've seen great results with it.
Great. Cool. I'm going to keep us rolling. Looks like we're approaching the halfway mark here, and I think we're pacing all right. So let's keep on going. Curtis, how much should we spend on LinkedIn?
Best practice is $5K a month per tactic. You're not going to see statistical significance in click-through rates until you've spent around $1,000. So that's kind of your buffer of like, hey, we've already hit 1K. Now we know what's working, what's not. We optimize accordingly. LinkedIn says if you're running out of budget each day, that means you're bidding too high. So keep an eye on those bids. With your targeting, you're going to want to use things like predictive audiences. So those are going to be your lookalikes based on a conversion. When you build out your campaigns, exclude your client, exclude your own company, exclude affiliated companies, as well as competitors, because you don't need to be putting ads in front of them. That you get charged based on impressions. So save your money, go after your intended audience. Do smart retargeting. Not everyone who's been to your page, everyone who's been to a page and committed a certain action, or they've been to your site, but they watched the video. And then lastly, don't do expanded targeting on LinkedIn. It can burn your budget super fast. You don't want to do it.
Great. Final question on social ads, Curtis. This is a fun one. Should we be on TikTok?
We have been asked this question once a week since TikTok came out. And the answer is, do you have enough creative to be on TikTok? You can't use one video that you've done in-house or one video from a content creator and run that for a month. It needs to be at minimum updated weekly. If your audience is bigger, if you're seeing more engagement, you need it more often than that. Your creative, it's got to feel organic. It can't feel like an ad. You want to drive demand gen and awareness as well as engagement versus specifically pushing a product or service. So think about that like General Motors or Chevy or Nike versus this specific reissue of Kobe's shoe. And then lastly, and this is the most important, but we saved it for last for a reason, is your audience on TikTok? Are there TikTok grandmas? I don't know. But if you're a grandma brand, you probably shouldn't be on TikTok. Same as if you're a niche audience who's not going to be on TikTok, Luddites who aren't adopting technology, it's really no point to send them an ad for your, simple app that wipes everything off your phone.
Well, so I'm hearing know your audience, understand the platform and how it's used, and also ensure that you have essentially the bandwidth and the scale to provide the assets needed to participate in a relevant way on these platforms, TikTok particularly.
Yeah, 1,000% with TikTok. You have to be agile, to say the least.
Cool. Thank you, Curtis. I'm going to let you catch your breath, and we're going to bring Kelly back to the stage to talk about artificial intelligence. But before we do, Kelly, I apologize. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know how long you've been at BFO and what your role is at the company.
Yes, of course. I'm Kelly Payne. I am a senior paid media account manager, and I've been at BFO for almost 8 years. I believe in the fall will be 8 years, so quite a long time.
Awesome. All right. You ready for AI?
I'm ready.
Okay. Your first question is, how do we use AI for keywords and bidding?
All right, starting with keywords, the first place that we usually start when doing a new build or expanding on our current campaigns is the Google Keyword Planner, which technically is already using AI as it comes up with additional keywords based on the select keywords that you give as a prompt. You can also integrate ChatGPT into your keyword research by asking for top search terms for your specific industry or brand. And then for bidding, if you're using smart bidding, you're already using AI, which it seems that AI is like new and shiny as the past couple of years, but realistically, it's been in Google Ads for quite some time. So when a client asks us how will AI affect paid, that's usually one of the first things that we let them know. For example, using max conversions, Google uses its machine learning to select keywords that are most likely to generate conversions for your business.
Super helpful. And I think it begs that question too, right? When somebody asks, how is AI being used? There is a follow-up question, and there's what are you defining as AI, or what do you mean by that? Because it's going down a lot of different paths right now.
Yep, it's just expanding.
Yep. So on the tails of that, how do we use AI for ad copy?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, using ChatGPT is a great place to start if you want to test out AI or different messaging. Again, Google already uses AI in some ad types. I know I mentioned this earlier, but sort of like PMAX beta, and I think some demand gen campaigns are utilizing AI. You can put in a prompt and it will generate some headlines and descriptions. And also, if you're using ad suggestions where it automatically launches new ads that they create, that's also AI. So it's kind of the same way as ChatGPT, but in ChatGPT, you can actually see more and then kind of select what you want to use and update that as necessary. You can also use it to find messaging that competitors are using, just to see how they word their call to actions or their benefits and highlights. I think it's really helpful just to see what they're doing if you want to obviously not copy it, but maybe word your words a little bit different and maybe make it a little bit better.
Super helpful. I think we've got one more here on
Yep.
AI, and it is, how do we use AI for audiences and demographics?
Yeah. Well, lately when building new accounts, I've been utilizing again ChatGPT and AI to find the best demographic match for our client. Something as simple as what type of people are searching for new windows comes up as homeowner status, age groups, income, geo, and more. So it's really helpful just to find that, and you can adjust your bids accordingly. And then similar to that, we also find new in-market and affinity audience segments using ChatGPT. Again, going to use that Windows example. I gave the prompt, what audiences are in market for new windows? And it gave me things that were pretty obvious, like homeowners and recent movers, recent buyers. But it also gave me residents in extreme weather, commercial property owners, and home sellers, which are great segments that we can test out that we previously didn't have on there. And then also something to keep in mind is that in the past, and I'm sure you might have experienced that, but we've had clients that aren't exactly sure who their target market is. So using ChatGPT is a great place to start just to get a feel of what type of people are best suited for your client and your company.
Awesome. This is great stuff, Kelly. Thank you so much. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to add about AI before I relieve you of this slide?
Nope, it's probably just going to be expanding more and definitely not going away.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your mustache, but thank you even more for your brain. Kelly will be sticking around. We're going to do some Q&A at the end, but thank you for this, Kelly.
Yeah, of course.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to launch a little quiz for everyone. So in a moment, I'm going to launch a quiz. It's a multiple choice quiz, and I'll give you 30 seconds to answer. We will be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card, and I will take everyone who has gotten the answer correct, put them in a randomizer, and choose one winner from there, which will be highlighted in the recap email that I send along either on Friday or Monday of this week. Friday of this week or Monday of next week. So without further ado, which mustache doesn't belong to Ben Stiller? And I'm going to launch the poll here, or the quiz, in a second, and I'll give you about 30 seconds. Can you guys see my poll box? Yeah, okay. Luckily, it doesn't say the right answer. All right. I'm going to give it a few more seconds here. Take your time if you need it. Study the mustache. Study the chin. Study the shape of the nostrils. All right, I'm going to give us about 5 more seconds here, and we're going to move on. Okay. I'm going to close this since everyone can see it. And if you guessed C, you are correct. So C is Adam Sandler. I was doing a little bit of Google research, and somehow he comes up as Ben Stiller's doppelganger in a couple of spots. So we ran with that one. I'll follow up with a winner after the call. Thank you guys so much for playing along. Let's dive back in. Now we're talking SEO, and I'm bringing Kyron back. Kyron, are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Wonderful. All right. First question. We used to be on the top of the first page. Now we can't be found anywhere. What can we do?
So there are a lot of reasons your organic listing may be getting pushed off the first page, but the very first thing you should do is reach out to your dedicated SEO team to make sure that there's nothing critical happening on the back end that may be hiding your site from Google's crawlers. If you don't have a dedicated SEO team, please feel free to reach out to us. Our team can help uncover what issues, may be causing this and help get your site back on track. Now that obviously may take some time to figure out what's going on. So in the immediate, we can combat this lack of organic presence on the first page by running some paid ads, right? We're going to buy our way to the top of the first page. So oftentimes there are known changes happening, whether or not that's a site redesign or even scheduled maintenance. And running paid ads during these times helps maintain that presence on the search results pages and allows you to continue driving traffic even when your organic listing is being pushed down.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to keep us rolling too because I want to make sure we get through everything here. The next question we've got is, do I have to run paid search if I'm doing well for SEO?
Yes, it is recommended. So SEO is an ongoing battle to outrank your competitors by optimizing content to appease Google's algorithm, right? So with SEO, there will always be keywords that are considered, anywhere from harder to impossible to rank for based on competition, relevancy, but also how much attention and bandwidth you're able to dedicate to those keyword phrases. With paid, we can look at where SEO is either struggling or where the ranking difficulty is too high and leverage paid to drive traffic to those keywords.
Super helpful. So they're complementary to each other, right? Just because one is performing well doesn't mean you turn the other off, because together they're stronger than separately.
Absolutely.
Cool. And like Kyron said, if you have any SEO questions, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out to marketing at Be Found Online, Kyle at Be Found Online. Always happy to chat SEO. We have another team of experts. They're not all mustached like this, unfortunately, but they're just as smart. Kyron, anything else you want to add before I relieve you of your question duties?
No, let's carry on.
All right. Thank you, Kyron. I appreciate everything. Curtis, you're back. We're talking analytics. What do we do about third-party cookies going away, Curtis? The elephant in a lot of rooms.
Yeah, this is more common than TikTok questions right now. You got to use your first-party data. Build your audiences in GA4. Those in-market and affinity audiences that we know and love from Universal Analytics, they're not in GA4 unless you put them there. So if you want to see how in-market for children's toys is engaging with your ads, you have to build it first, and then GA4 will adapt to it. You have to put more data into it to get the same data out. With that said, think about things like contextual keyword targeting. Think about things like AI, where it will go after who's most likely to engage based on what your intended outcome is. Going back to contextual keyword targeting, think about it like, instead of blasting everyone with your organic shoes ad, think about your market. Is it organic men's running shoes? Are we going after people who are eco-conscious, not just health-conscious? So more dialed in keywords to place your ads on relevant sites and pages based on what you're seeing. Another example would be, don't put TurboTax on every page on CNN.com, but if it's CNN Money or CNN Finance or CNN Entrepreneurs, those are the people who are most likely filing their own taxes. So put the ads in front of them based on relevancy. And as always, right keyword, right message, right audience. So make sure it's all synergistic and matches one another. I don't know that I've ever used the word synergistic ever in my life.
That might be the first time I've heard that word.
Yeah, that's it for that one.
Great. So how many people do we need in a retargeting audience?
First, build them in GA4. I'm going to say it again, build them in LinkedIn, build them in Meta, make sure they're ready to go. If you're thinking about retargeting after you've launched the campaign that leads to retargeting, you're already too late. The audience should be built first. YouTube and Google search, it's got to be around 1,000. I say Google search because you can run remarketing lists for search ads. Google display, it's got to be around 100. LinkedIn, 300 minimum. Meta, TBD, we really don't know. So we assume it's between that 100 and 1,000. I know that's a large range. Plus, with all of these, build your audience based on page view or engagement. So what you're trying to accomplish, they engage with the ad, they watch the video, that's one audience versus they made it to the homepage.
So a lot of different channels to consider with a lot of different parameters and pieces in place.
Yep, absolutely.
Moving right along. So why do some of my conversions have decimal points? What does 3.2 mean, Curtis?
So the decimals account for assisting or multi-touch conversions. So example, you Google Best marketing agency in Chicago. You see a BFO ad, you don't engage with it. Later on, you search for digital marketing Chicago, you see a BFO SEO listing, you go through that and you click learn more or you sign up for this webinar. The search campaign will get a decimal point conversion because it assisted you in getting there. You did not engage with it, but according to the algorithms, it led you to coming back, it influenced you and helped you get to that conversion point. It could be, you could click on a paid ad, come back through SEO, you could watch a video on Meta, come back through organic or go direct to the site. You could even see our ad, see our phone number, not call our phone number, but then a couple days later, pick up your phone and call, and it will attribute that because it's all about the influence and that multi-touch attribution.
Awesome. Thank you. I know that that confuses a lot of people, confused myself at one point.
Yes.
Luckily I have you guys to reference, but yeah, thank you for that. I think we have one more on here, don't we, Curtis?
Yes, we do.
All right, your final question of the day. Why don't the numbers in Google Ads match what's in my GA4 report? It's the same conversion in both places.
Google Analytics attributes the conversion the day it happened, not the day of the impression that caused the conversion. So similar to like something like multi-touch, they look at things in the same way, but it's still a little different. So example, someone searches for Be Found Online today. They see an ad, they get to the request information, they fill out the form, but they don't hit submit. Tomorrow, they open their browser, they realize, oh, I forgot to do that. Then they hit submit. Google will give us the conversion as today because this is when they interacted with it. GA will put the conversion as tomorrow because that's the day the event happened. One of the best examples I can give for this was an account Scott's on. They sell jewelry. Client sees ad one day, adds to cart one day, doesn't purchase until a few days later. So the conversion totals matched up, but Google Ads showed conversions on XYZ days, analytics showed it on ABC days. It is a little confusing. You have to look at your attribution reports, you have to look at your assisting conversion, but end of day, it's all showing you how your different formats, your different channels impact your sales.
Really helpful. It's a really tricky ecosystem out there when it comes to analytics. All right, Curtis, anything else you want to add there?
I do not. Thank you, Kyle.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. You may be wondering what Scott's been doing hanging out on this call and has yet to say anything. So I'd like to bring Scott to the stage. Scott, how you doing? You hanging in there?
I'm doing great. Everyone's doing really well so far.
I love it. Will you give us a little intro, what your role is here at BFO and how long you've been with BFO?
Sure. I have been here 7.5 years. I am also a paid media account manager. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
I do paid media.
Well, I'm going to let you jump in because you are the person to speak to this slide. That's for sure.
Okay. So why should I hire an agency and not hire in-house? So there are a lot of different advantages, but I think first and foremost, we've already made the mistakes. Ideally not for our current clients, but over the years we've learned a lot, and we can use our experience to set things up right in the beginning and start getting better results faster. So one of the biggest areas that people run into issues is the fact that Google has a lot of settings by default when you go to launch a new campaign, but they're very hidden. So one example is location targeting. By default, your ads will be shown to people that are in a certain location or interested in a certain location. If you don't know to go check a certain box, then your ads might be shown to people that aren't in a place where you sell products, but are just interested in that place. There are also issues where your ads by default will show on the search, display, and search partner network. That can be an issue because if you're uploading search ads without images, you might not want them to appear on the display network when you can have a dedicated display campaign for that purpose. So there are lots of little nuances within accounts that you just have to figure out by being in accounts for a long period of time. So when you hire an agency, you get the advantage of all of that learned experience across tons of different clients and tons of different verticals without having to just figure it out on your own. And then beyond that, it can be expensive to hire a director of paid media, paid social, SEO, analytics, all of these discrete roles. We're very good, and this kind of leads into the what makes BFO different argument, but we have a lot of knowledge across teams and across experiences. So if you need a lot of different expertise, but don't want to hire an entire team internally, you can tap into that expertise by working with an agency.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Scott. And I mean, where else are you going to get this type of paid media knowledge and fun mustaches like this? I've never seen anything like it.
Agreed.
All right, we've got a little bit of time left. I want to save 5 minutes to answer a question or two, but before we get to that, Scott, there's a slide here on testing, and I know we want to make sure that we give folks some things that they can play with and some things that they can do on their own coming out of this. So I'll let you take this one away as well.
Sure. So Kelly's already touched on ChatGPT a lot, but essentially it is an area where you can do some testing. We've done some testing internally where we had ChatGPT write copy, then we also had human copy, and we decided to run them against each other to determine where it was better and where it was worse. It's not always the same result. It varies by client and by test, but by having a testing framework at all, by using A/B testing principles, we're able to get the best out of AI without completely turning over the keys to Google. So I think that if you are going to use ChatGPT, it shouldn't be a yes or no. It should be tested in the same methodology that you would test any other marketing platform that you're doing. When it comes to demand generation, that is the newest campaign type. There's also Performance Max with new signals in beta and search themes in beta. These are two very AI-powered types of campaign. They use different signals, different audiences, and automated bidding to essentially show your assets to the right people at the right time in the right place. It is difficult that Google keeps things kind of behind a black box. When you are setting up these campaigns, you have less manual control than you have had in the past, but they are the newest campaign types. And when you are using the newest campaign types, Google tends to give you better performance because they want to encourage adoption of their new platforms and campaign types. And then they also have less competition against them. So you can get lower CPCs in general. So whether you're testing demand generation or Performance Max and the new features with it, the important thing is just that you set it up with a framework to be able to say at the end, based on the data, if they're performing better or worse than what you were already doing. So there are other testing opportunities outside of this, but I do want to save some time for questions from everyone else. So Kyle, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in respects to that, we have a few minutes left here. Do we have any new questions? I know at least one came through, and Curtis, I know you were going to help us out with that one.
I just see the one.
Sure. Okay. And I don't want to pull it up on my end only because of the
Yep.
screen.
All good. All good. All right.
Never
I'll read the
with us?
question. I actually was able to do some research on this, so I hope I'm able to help you out here. So the anonymous attendee said, I just did a request on ChatGPT for top hashtags, and it responded that it could not provide. Is AI more for content, not social media information? What you just experienced is something that I have experienced time and time again. That's why I gave Kelly credit for helping me do that assessment of Nike versus Reebok. ChatGPT AI is all about the data you put in. So you want more detailed questions to go to them to get better output. So one fun thing you can do is like, say it like, tell me a story about a little girl and a unicorn. Cool, that's one thing. But if you give it details about name, place, they go get ice cream, you're going to get more content. Speaking to your question about hashtags, I did 2 tests real quick. I said, can you provide hashtags to use for an organic milk brand? It cranked out 20 of them. So organic dairy, pure and natural, grass-fed goodness, farm fresh milk, healthy choices, so on and so forth. I do want to call out moo with integrity is probably one of the greatest milk hashtags I've ever seen. So we got that there, and they call out these hashtags can help promote the organic and natural aspects of your milk brand while also appealing to environmentally conscious consumers. Okay, So it's helping us add hashtags to our posts, to our campaigns. I then said, are any hashtags trending for spring break on Meta? I got a similar answer to what you got. As AI, I don't have access to real-time data on current social media trends, so on and so forth. So I tried a different one. What hashtag has more impressions than all others for summer? So I asked for a little bit more information. I called out impressions as a metric, and I also called out summer, giving it a time frame. ChatGPT said determining the single hashtag with the most impressions for summer would require access to real-time data analytics, social media platforms, blah, blah, blah. Also, this can depend based on region, current events, and trends. Then it says, however, some popular hashtags, excuse me, often associated with summer include hashtag summer vibes, sunshine, beach life, vacation mode, pool party, travelgram, so on and so forth. And then it calls out, these hashtags are commonly used during the summer months, can generate significant impressions across social media platforms. To find the most current and popular summer hashtags, you can use social media analytics tools or explore trending topics on platforms like Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. I'm going to add to that Google Trends. You can go in there and compare, I think, up to 4 different words, even by geo, and it will tell you what words are trending. So back to your question, the more detail, the more you ask of ChatGPT, of whatever Google's version is called now, it used to be called Bard, the better output you're going to get. It's not always perfect. Kelly and I were talking about this the other day. If you say, hey, write me a description under 90 characters for this landing page, it might not be under 90 characters. If you say, hey, write me some ad copy for this landing page, it might not see the content on the landing page. Instead, it pulls it off the meta. So think about how you're asking it, try and give as much direction and detail as possible, and you will get better answers and better responses from ChatGPT. Kelly, Scott, Kyron, Kyle, anything there y'all want to elaborate on? Because I know we all work with it daily.
I just wanted to jump in. Please go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I was just going to say, I generally agree with you, Curtis, that it can depend on, what exact question you're asking, what brand you're asking it for, even what time of day you ask it, since the algorithm is always learning. So I would say that if you are struggling to get the right answer when using AI, even just reframing the question can get you dramatically different results. So it is somewhat of a skill at this point to know how to prompt the AI well, and by experimenting with it, you can get better at it.
Yeah, and more on that. I was going the same way, Scott. This idea of treating AI like a untrained intern. It knows a lot of things and it can pull things for you, but it doesn't know your brand. It doesn't know what you want. It doesn't know your KPIs. You need to feed that. You need to build the right kind of prompts to inform the information that you want to come back. So, it's a learning curve on both sides, right? AI is continually learning, but we're also continually learning how to better prompt it, how to find the right words to ask or to omit to get exactly what we're looking for, or a starting place to build from.
Yeah. And in the hashtag example, you might even be able to say, what are some topics that I should show for? And then when they tell you the topics, you can use those as hashtags, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And then you see the snowball, right, of using AI to help build the campaign. It's not doing it for you, right? You're helping it inform you along the way based off of what you're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Anyone else?
I do not see any other questions.
Cool. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I know we're getting right here to the top of the hour. So I just wanted to take a minute to thank everyone for taking time out of their day to join us. We know that people have lots of questions around paid media, which is why we put this together. I hope we answered your questions as thoroughly as possible, but if not, you can always send us an email. You can email marketing@BeFoundOnline. You can email me directly, Kyle@BeFoundOnline. And what I'm going to do for everyone after this webinar is I will be sure to send a recap email that has a replay of this video. We'll include some blog references or some blog links to things that we referenced. We'll include our winner from the quiz and any other relevant information that we think will be helpful to move you guys along as you think about your paid media strategy and you think about the changes in paid media this year and moving forward.